Hi guys, I'm Ruchira and I'm actually showing a video today which is the first part of a three-part series on soups. And the reason we're shooting these videos is because in Delhi the weather has turned and it's gotten quite chilly in the evenings, and I think everybody wants something warm and comfy to drink, and this particular soup is all about nostalgia. So I'm actually showing you a train wala tomato soup. Pretty simple to make, and you'll be surprised at how quickly you can actually put it together. And it is going to be part memory, part your childhood, part nostalgia, part just traveling. And I think that is what the whole point of making this soup is. Now, I think most of us remember that when you're traveling in trains, it's always something to look forward to, having a warm cup of or a hot cup of soup. And we're going to start with what the ingredients are today. So I am going to actually start with tomatoes, obviously, and then as it follows, and when you look at the end of the video, it'll have the recipe. But as it starts, we start with some tomatoes, and I have some onions, and I've got some green chili here, and I've got some turmeric, I have some shallots, I have a little bit of mint, and I have some ginger garlic paste, and I have some coriander powder. I'm going to use this in two turns. So first tap half the coriander powder into this, and I'll add water to this. And if you feel like making it quicker and faster, you can always just pressure cook the entire thing. So I'm going to actually start by bringing this to a boil, and I'd like all my vegetables to soften and cook in the water, and as that happens, we'll take it forward. Now, if you have coriander, fresh coriander leaves, this is a good time to throw a little bit of that in too, but I'm not very fond of it with too much coriander, so I prefer to make this with a little bit of mint rather than coriander. But either which ways, this is a great recipe to follow. As this boils, I want to also take you through the remaining ingredients, which is basically just red chili powder, salt, pepper, and a little bit more of the coriander powder. And we're going to finish this entire thing with butter and old school croutons. So let's wait to see when this comes to a boil. Been cooking this for about 10 minutes, and we can now see what's going on. The tomatoes and onions are cooked through, and we've still got a little bit of water left, but that's fine. We're anyway going to just grind this. We'll turn this off and wait for this to cool for a little bit before we grind this, and then I think pass it through a sieve to sort of just have a nice pureed light soup. So we're going to just let this cool down for now. So our mix is relatively cool, and now we're going to just dip it into the blender. If you have a hand blender, go ahead and do that. Otherwise, this will work fine too. So this is blended and pureed. And what I'm going to do next is just bring this back on heat, and I do want to strain this completely. I want like a nice smooth soup. So we're going to strain this. Alright, so we are straining this, and we take out most of the residual vegetable, then you can use it somewhere else, but for the moment you just sort of strain this till you get all the goodness down. And then I'm going to turn this heat back up, and into the soup I'm going to add some red chili powder, a little bit of salt, some pepper powder, and I'm going back to my coriander powder now and adding that as well. If you'd like to thicken the soup, you can add a little bit of corn flour, but ideally I'm going to add just plain water to this. And the rumor has it that most railway employees used to use toilet water to make this soup, but we're going to use nice boiled water. And I'm going to add a little bit of corn flour to this, make a slurry so that we don't have lumps. And I think it's important that doing this is what will hopefully be a nice, not a very thick soup, but a good soup for sure. And it changes the color as well. And I want to taste this for some salt. It's a lot of salt. Some pepper as well. Cook this for a little while. It smells quite good. I could add a little bit of red chili powder to it. Basically adjust for seasoning, because that is what is key. And as the soup cooks, you'll remember this smell. That is why we're making this soup in the first place. And just thickening this just slightly. We don't want like a really super thick soup, but just something that is easy to drink and easy to finish. It's thickening quite quickly. We don't want it too thick, but we don't want it too thin. Remember, it's served in paper cups, and that is what makes all the difference. And we don't have paper cups, so we're going to be serving it in bowls. But what I do want to do is adjust the seasoning here, so I will add just a pinch of sugar to this, so that the sweetness, sort of natural sweetness of the sugar, sort of the tomato will sort of come together. And so just a little bit of sugar. And I think we're done. Taking the soup off the heat now, and we serve our piping hot soup. All mixed with a dollop of butter, some croutons. They were always carried on the side, if you remember. So, you always get a little sachet of salt or pepper if you want to add pepper, especially to it. So we're adding a nice dollop of butter into each soup, so it melts into the soup and adds nice salty goodness to it. Some croutons. And because we are at home, we'll finish with a little bit of pepper powder. And some chopped coriander. For but the melting buttery goodness is what will make it the train wala soup. So that's it. That is our recipe for the soup. I'll leave the recipe in the a card after this IGTV, but I'll also leave it below the video, and I hope you enjoyed it and I hope you make it.